Hi, and welcome to Ancestry Detectives. My name is John, and I'm going to be helping one of our viewers today. Betty writes to us, Dear Ancestry Detectives, my great-great-uncle was named Elmer Ellsworth, and he fought for the Union in the Civil War. I think he maybe even met Abraham Lincoln, but this is all I've been able to find out. Please help me out so I can find out more about my long-lost relative. Well, Betty, today's your lucky day, because we're going to be taking on your case on Ancestry Detectives. We're going to find out more about Elmer Ellsworth. Well, okay, let's get started on our research about Elmer Ellsworth. Well, we did find Elmer, and he did fight in the American Civil War. He was born in upstate New York in Malta, just outside of Saratoga. Elmer Ellsworth was a law clerk and a United States Army soldier, best known as the first conspicuous casualty of the American Civil War. So he was definitely in the war, and I guess he was the first person to die in the war. So that's an interesting little piece of information. He was killed in the process of removing a Confederate flag from the roof of a Virginian hotel. Well, so far I'm not finding anything about Elmer and President Abraham Lincoln. Oh, no, wait a minute. He studied law in Lincoln's law office and helped Lincoln with his 1860 campaign for president. Okay, well then, yeah, I would say that he almost definitely met Abraham Lincoln. He was only 5'6", but Lincoln called Ellsworth the greatest little man I ever met. And he accompanied Lincoln to Washington, D.C. in 1861. Well, he definitely met Abraham Lincoln if Abraham is going to say he was the greatest little man he ever met. So he's definitely met Abraham Lincoln, and he has definitely played an integral part in the American Civil War. This is very interesting. Let's see what else we can find. Okay, here we're finding out more about Elmer and how he died. It appears that from Washington, he and the Lincolns could see a flag hanging over one of Virginia's hotels. And this bothered Abraham Lincoln, and it bothered Elmer, being one of his friends. And so when Virginia seceded from the Union, Elmer went and put down the army retreating out of Alexandria. And on that day, Elmer would cut down the banner that he had seen countless times on the other side of the river. So he cut down a flag that he had seen on the other side of the river. That was a Confederate flag, and it must have been a sore subject for him and the Lincolns, and so he felt he'd take it down. Him and his troops entered the Marshall House Inn, atop of which the banner was still flying. So even though Ellsworth and his men had kicked or been successful in getting the Confederate forces out of Alexandria and Virginia, the flag was still flying over this one hotel. And so Elmer and his men went in to remove this flag. Apparently he went upstairs and cut it down, and on his way back down, the owner of the establishment, James Jackson, shot him in the chest with a shotgun. Right after which, Corporal Francis E. Brownell of Troy, New York, immediately stabbed Jackson with the bayonet of his gun. So it sounds like Elmer and his troops were victorious in battle, and this flag still was flying over this hotel in Virginia that he had been watching for weeks, and bugged him and bugged President Lincoln. So he went up to take it down. On his way back down, he was shot in the chest by the owner of the place, James Jackson, and killed, died on the spot. Then one of Elmer's men stabbed the guy, and he died as well. So it's interesting. He did play a very integral part in the Civil War. Maybe didn't win, the big battles, and maybe he didn't have to take the flag down, but it was, I'm sure, a very important part of the time to show that the rebellion and the Confederacy was not going to withstand, and this flag flying essentially right across the river from Washington and the Union forces, I'm sure bugged the hell out of everybody. So I'm sure it was very important, and I'm sure Lincoln was glad that the flag was down. Oh yeah, right here. Lincoln was deeply saddened by his friend's death, and ordered an honor guard to bring his friend's body to the White House, where it lay in state in the East Room. So I mean, that's a huge honor. That's not just new President Lincoln. He was a friend of President Lincoln, and upon his death, President Lincoln let him lay in the stateroom in the East Room. That is a big deal. That's not something you do for just some one casualty. That's someone that was very important to Lincoln, and was very well thought of. So it's an interesting little story, and thank you for asking us to investigate it, Betty. We've really learned a lot, and we're looking forward to learning some more.